Howdy, my name is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and I'm coming at you today with another top 10 list about our top 10 side games. So a side game is a game that I love bringing to conventions and teaching to people, and people can come in and come out and have a great time no matter who they are and no matter their, skill level with games. It's something that they can enjoy and take away a great experience afterwards. So before we begin this list, I do have one honorable mention. It is a new game from 2020 that I have not yet brought to a convention. Because of the current situation in the world, we are not able to go to conventions and not able to share these things in person, but I think that Project Elite, this game here, would be a fantastic candidate for a side game success. So the cooperative nature of this game is going to have you shouting and screaming during the 5-minute real-time period. And the table presence is incredible with these huge miniatures, these giant elaborate maps, and the constant rolling of the dice while the timer is clicking down. So I can only imagine that this game would be perfect to bring people in and have them walk away with an experience that they're like, wow, that was awesome. So that is my honorable mention. That being said, let's go ahead and start with number 10. Number 10 is Abyss. Abyss is a board game where you take on the role of lords of the deeps. And in this game, it's very straightforward. The rules, you only have about 3 options you can do on your turn, but each of those turns is very in-depth, and you can interact with everybody at the table pretty much all the time. So it really draws people in with the decisions you make, and the components themselves are gorgeous. So the art, as you can see, is super nice. The board is no different. The cards themselves are really pretty with the different lords that you can interact with. We use metal keys in our copy, and it has this awesome Pearl resource that you can use. My favorite thing about this game is the new Leviathan expansion and how it introduces monsters that can attack you. It adds a little bit more pressure and tenseness to exploring and might have you doing different options than you would normally, which is very cool because it adds even more cool consequences to your decision space. So this is Abyss with Leviathan expansion especially. And if you have Kraken, I would also advise that too. It's a great one. Adds a new black pearl, and those are really fun to get people stuck with them. Or if somebody just grabs all the black pearls, watch them kind of go mad with power. Very fun, Abyss. Number 9 is Batman Gotham City Chronicles. I'm holding particularly the Arkham Asylum expansion pack. This one introduces a map that has no elevation, so you take off one of the biggest hurdles to really learning this game right off the bat. And it also has a big emphasis on combat. In the base game, there are a lot of varied missions, but a lot of people, when they play a Batman game, they just want to go in and they want to fight. They want to attack people, they want to get in, use their bat gadgets, take people out, and be Batman, right? And that's what this expansion really leans into. It lets you take out the bad guys and not focus on something like hacking a computer or disarming bombs. But I do like those missions as well, but this expansion in particular is great for the demo crowd. Batman is a beast to learn, but if you are teaching it and you already know it, it's not hard at all. This is one of the easiest games to have people pick up. You go in, you beat the crap out of people, you roll the dice, and you try to get successes. It's a lot of fun to watch people be Batman, and it's an easy one to set up, and you can just redo the same scenario. My favorite thing in this game is actually being the villain. You can control the difficulty for the people that are playing with you. If it's a family of 3, you can set it. You can be very easy going and target everybody with a little bit of stuff and get in the way of every character, so they're all playing and all engaged. But if you're playing with a hub gamer or somebody who's played a lot of these styles of games, you can really go hard and provide a huge challenge for those people. In addition, in the convention setting, if somebody does get eliminated, there is a elimination kind of mechanic. You can get knocked out for a turn if you expend all of your resources. You're kind of front-loading the actions instead of using them in a future turn. If you do that, it's not a big deal because it is a convention space, so it's easy for somebody to just leave, and then somebody can take their place, or somebody that's playing can control those 2 characters. So either way, it's a great way to get people involved, and it lets them be Batman, and that's really cool. My number 8 is Fireball Island. I have the little box here for the wreck of the Crimson Cutlass. So Fireball Island introduces this huge map, and that's one of the best parts, is this gigantic 3D board where you're throwing marbles and all sorts of things, from boulders to tigers to bees, and it really draws people in with the idea of these 3D components and how they interact and how they really just knock down everybody. It's very tense around the table, and my favorite thing is the souvenir cards. As you play these souvenir cards, you are going to be getting these really cool powers that no one else has, and it makes for some really cool aha moments, or oh, that was really awesome. My favorite thing to use to knock other people down is the tiger, because it's so difficult. I don't think I've actually seen anybody ever successfully hit someone with a tiger. It's like one of those little jumping frogs. You flick the bottom and it'll jump up. And everyone usually is going to be way too powerful with their hit. And if somebody does get knocked down, it's going to be because maybe they hit something nearby or some other chain of events will occur them to knock down. I don't think I've ever seen somebody actually get hit with a tiger, but it's always fun to watch it. And man, the day that happens, it'll be incredible. Number 7 is Atlantis Rising 2nd Edition, a cooperative game where you are preparing to leave Atlantis as it is sinking. Very cool. My favorite thing has to be the resource collecting mechanic. The further out you go on the island of Atlantis, they're peninsulas. So the further you out on the peninsula, the easier it is to collect things. But the crisis cards that you're going to be pulling are going to be sinking pieces of the island. And when it sinks, if you're on that spot, you've lost your actions. So it's very scary. Do you risk going to these easier spots, but you potentially might not even get to use the action at all. So it's fun being able to manipulate the odds and predict the actions that will happen. The artwork is gorgeous, and whoa, the deluxe edition with the map and the new components is out of this world. It really draws people in with the beautiful art, and they stay for the compelling gameplay and the tense whole scenario that this provides. So very fantastic game, Atlantis Rising 2nd Edition. My number 6 is another 2nd edition. It is Camel Up 2nd Edition. Right from the start, you have this pop-up board that invites people in with a very cool plastic pyramid that has no breaking rubber bands, as the 1st edition had. And this, once again, beautiful artwork that's going to capture the theme completely. You are camel racing. So you don't control these camels. You control the people here. You're controlling the bettors, and it's your job to make predictions as to how these camels are going to race. And you can slightly influence them, but it's all about odds. Every dice has a 1 to 3 on it. So there are 6-sided dice with 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s. But based on when they're rolled and who's rolling and how frequently they're getting rolled, you are making bets and trying to do the best you can with the numbers you see. So you can play the odds, or you can go for broke and maybe support a camel a little bit and see if that will help you or help others. You can make alliances with other people on the board if you have similar interests. And you can bet on the smaller legs of the race or the whole race as a whole. My favorite mechanic in this one has to be the alliance system. It makes it not as awful if somebody takes the bet that you really wanted. And then you have kind of an ally for a little bit, and you can work together to complete this mission. But at the same time, you only win if you make the most money, so you got to make sure that you are still getting the best deal here. And that's Camel Up 2nd Edition. Amazing game that's all about probability and the odds. My number 5 is Ice Cool. Ice Cool is a flicking game where you play a penguin delinquent who is skipping class. And at the table, 2 other people will usually be the hall monitors, and they're going to be trying to catch everybody that's skipping class. While you skip class, you're looking for fish, but you do this by flicking your character. So you click them like that. It's got this little rounded base on him that's like a weeble that wobbles. And so when you flick it, you can flick it in ways that will ricochet off things, or if you flick it a specific way, it might jump or it might curve. And it's really cool to see people kind of get comfortable and discover how this game works for them and how they're able to manipulate the penguin. So very cool, very awesome. A lot of stand-up moments. Some people are incredible at this, and it gets the whole table like, oh my God, you're a legend. It's so fun to watch. And the scoring is whatever. You're going to be picking up these fish, and each fish has a point from like 1 to 3. But it's really just the running away and the catching of the delinquents is a blast to watch, and people just have fun playing it. So I strongly recommend Ice Cool. My number 4 is a huge one. This is Mechs vs. Minions. So Mechs vs. Minions is a cooperative programming game. You have these giant square cardboard placards in front of you, and on them you're going to be placing your cards in a order that your mech is going to carry out every turn. You have some sort of scenario that you need to complete. Very similarly to Batman, you can keep it out and just recycle the same scenario throughout the demo. But as you play the game, the characters you're playing as get stronger and stronger. The mission might seem almost impossible at first, but a couple turns in and you are so powerful. And this plays really well from 2 to 4. And your characters are going to have a limited time to decide on what you want to upgrade. And that's really cool because it adds this confusion and tension as to what you're actually going to do. Once you've placed your cards, you go through your programmed process and you might realize a chain of events might happen. And it's cool though because it is cooperative, that nothing is ever done maliciously. It is always this positive experience. And as the game increases in rounds, you're going to be killing more stuff and you're going to be getting more powerful with these cool special powers as you play. So I do strongly recommend Mechs vs. Minions. My favorite thing about it has to be the timer. It comes with like this 1-minute timer that you can use to speed up. You use it. So sorry, it's not you can't use, but you use it to speed up the decision process during the draft at the beginning of each round where you're getting your power cards. And it adds some tenseness because everybody's shouting like, oh, I need a movement. Oh, I need an attack card. Please just give me a green one. It's really cool to see people kind of frantically make decisions, and this puts pressure on the whole group to make their decisions quickly. And this small thing at the beginning can really have some domino effects to later in the game where you're like, oh, I should not have gotten that card. And it's very fun to just see these quick decisions result in huge power plays or taking out hordes of these mechs that are on the board. So very rewarding, very cool Mechs vs. Minions. Our next game here is number 3, Cthulhu Death May Die. And here you are an investigator and your job is to take out this gigantic demon that has been summoned. And you have to figure out how to weaken it first before you can even start taking it out. This game is very cool, very cooperative game where it's scenario based again, but you are going to be using your investigator to take out these large enemies and smaller ones along the way. So in Death May Die, my favorite thing has to be the madness track. The more you play the game and the more you get damaged, the more insane you go. But this is a good and a bad thing. The more insane you are, the closer you are to death. But every time you get insane, you get to upgrade yourself. And when you upgrade yourself, you get some cool power and you can really customize your character to be exactly what you want it to be. The old ones that you could fight are all unique, different, and very fun to play. If anybody's familiar with the mythos, they'll have a great time seeing these characters reimagined. And the miniatures are incredible, and the table presence is also, on all these games, the table presence is just phenomenal. You're going to see these guys from a distance and be like, wow. And speaking of seeing from a distance, this game actually comes with an expansion option you can get for a gigantic miniature. So this thing is huge. I would not recommend this one though, the giant expansion for a convention. It might be a good one to just show off and say, hey, this is an option for the game, but I would not demo with this one. It really is a finale piece, and it is more fun if you have played all of the other scenarios first. The Elder One himself, he is flavorful, but he's kind of ridiculous, and you do have to play with exactly 5 to use him. So he's very cool, very awesome. You might put this there just as a stand to say, hey, this is what we're playing, but I would not use him as for the demo piece, but he's very cool. My number 2 is a considerably smaller game, and this is 5 Minute Marvel. 5 Minute Marvel here is another cooperative game, as you can, I don't know if you can notice a theme, but it's another cooperative theme here, and you are going to be going for 5 minutes, go figure, to take out these villains. And the villains are this big stack of cards. Everyone has a set amount of cards in their deck and hand, and you are throwing them down, matching the symbols on these cards. Very simple, very straightforward, but very fun. You can play this with anybody. You don't even need to be able to read, generally, for some of the characters. So you can play it with very young kids as well, and adults love it as well. They can play it with the entire scope of their family. It's also the Marvel theme. A lot of people like Marvel right now, and this game itself is just very exciting. It's real time. You're going to be throwing stuff down, and lots of shouting, lots of yelling, lots of aha. Being the person running this game is a blast. I have lost my voice multiple times being the person running this, and I don't care. It's a blast. Seeing people get excited. It comes with this Jarvis application, so it's the Iron Man's robot AI that's voicing the timer. It's a very simple thing, but it's very fun, and families get very excited. And it's one that they could play a second time or a third time in a row and really love. And you can increase the difficulty, decrease it based on who's playing. I can't recommend this one enough. The game itself doesn't have a lot of table presence. It's just a pile of cards, but the people around it make this one that attracts a lot of attention and is just a blast to watch. My favorite thing is the different heroes on the outside. They have their own special decks of cards that have unique powers. So if you want to be that character, you have an effect that is that character. If you're Hulk, you have ways to become the Hulk or turn into Banner or heal yourself. Or it's really cool to Hulk smash, or to, as Spider-Man, you're really good with technology and being agile. It's very cool how they integrated the character's effects into the game as well. So that's number 2, 5-Minute Marvel. Last but not least, we have my biggest success, and this is Catacombs 3rd Edition. This is the playmat edition. So Catacombs is another flicking game, much like Ice Cool, but it is set as a dungeon crawler. So you take your characters, you flick them around. If you're going to throw a fireball, you literally get a wooden fireball disc and you flick it. So this game does something incredible. It translates the idea of fantasy into a very easy to access situation. You have a fireball, you throw a fireball. You move, you flick your guy to move. You attack. If you're going to punch him, you're going to charge him. You flick your guy to run. If you're throwing an arrow, you have a little arrow. It's so cool how this fantasy translates into a dexterity game. You flick stuff, you hit stuff. The villain works very similarly to the Batman Gotham City Chronicles villain. However, you generally meet the person running the game is going to be the bad guy, and you're just flicking stuff. The best way to play this game is quickly. If you overthink this game, it will drag. It is not that good if you overthink it. So if you are playing this game at a convention, the person running it needs to be on it. They need to just go for it. Flick stuff, make a good decision, but don't take forever measuring angles and figuring it out. Flick the disc, and it flows incredibly. I had a line of kids at one of the high schools that I demoed this at that was ridiculous, and they were all excited to just try around. It's also great because it is room by room. So if one person knocks somebody out, you finish that room up. You can, if there's nobody there, they can just keep on playing. Or if they're finished, you can move them along and bring another group in, and they can just jump into the place that the last characters were. And it's cool because people might come back and be like, oh, how are they doing? Or they might even just go back into the line and try again so they can go into a different room or try a different character. It is a lot of fun to play. Catacombs, the artwork is great. It's this great cartoony artwork. And I can't recommend this one enough, especially the playmat version. It is so smooth. It fits really nicely on the table. And all of the pieces are these big chunky wood pieces that really add a lot of tactile pleasure to the entire experience. I've never had somebody walk away at a convention or a gathering from this that was not happy or excited. So very impressed with Catacombs 3rd Edition. Well done. So that's my list of my top 10 side games, and I hope that one of these games sounds interesting to you and it'd be something that you'd love to give a try. And this list might give you an idea of how we interact with people at these larger conventions and what we do for side game in general. We bring games to make sure everybody can have a good time, whether it be something small like 5-Minute Marvel where anybody can come in, or if it's something large and involved like Death May Die or Mechs vs. Minions. It doesn't matter who you are, there can be a game for you if you're willing to give it a try. And I hope that you have a great time playing board games. Side game strong.